How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about this weird exchange between Mark Lamont Hill and Chris Rufo. Now, Mark Lamont Hill, I think he was on CNN for a while, and he's a professor at Temple University in Philly. And if I'm wrong about that, let me know in the comments below. But he's a leftist black guy. Once you see him, you know what I'm talking about. You recognize him a little bit if you watch some of the television news. Then on the other side, you have Chris Rufo. He's a white guy. I presume he's conservative. That's the way he sounds in this clip. They had a really weird exchange about critical race theory. Now, this is a clip of a bigger video. If you want to see the entire 20-something minute video, I'll link to that in the description box. But I'm going to play about a 2-minute clip right here where they get down to the meat and potatoes of why critical race theory is not a good thing. I don't think Mark Lamont Hill intended for this clip to be that way, but that's what it is. So after we get done watching that, I'll talk about what was said there. Then I give you the rest of my 2 cents, my deep, detailed analysis, and then I'll wrap it on up with a nice bow on top. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
And if I were to say to you right now, Christopher, what do you like about being white? What would you say?
I don't know. Again, it's such an amorphous term. It's like a census term or a
but can you do me a favor? Indulge me. Indulge me for one. We're running out of time. Indulge me for a minute. I understand you see it as all these things, but you surely recognize that the world sees you as white. You know the world reads you as white. And if you were to ask me some things I like about being black, I could talk about cultural norms. I could talk about tradition. I could talk about the kind of commonalities I feel around the diaspora. If I were to ask you what, particularly if you're saying whiteness is a thing that is being constructed as negative and shouldn't be, name something positive that you like about being white.
Well, sure. I'll answer with a thing. There's a lot of documents that are floating around public schools that say things like timeliness, showing up on time, is a white supremacist value or a white value, white dominant value. Things like rationality, things like the Enlightenment, things like objectivity, and these are very strange things to be ascribed to a racial identity. My view is that these are actually should be ascribed to every individual human being. Every individual human being, regardless of whatever racial category we impose on them, has
Christopher, that doesn't answer the question, though. You're telling me you're making straw men about things that are ascribed to whiteness that you think are wrongfully ascribed to whiteness. I'm saying if whiteness isn't a negative thing, and there's something that that whiteness actually shouldn't be constructed as all negative, name something positive about that you believe is positive about being white.
Again, I don't buy into the framework that the world can be reduced into these metaphysical categories of whiteness and blackness. I think that's wrong. I think we should look at people as individuals. I think we should celebrate different people's accomplishments. And again, I think the idea you mentioned Ignatieff. Ignatieff says the goal is to, quote, abolish the white race. In any other context, this would be interpreted as a near genocidal slur. I don't buy into it. The reason I'm not going to answer your question is I reject that categorization. I think of myself as an individual human being with my own capabilities. And I would hope that we could both judge each other as individuals and come to common values on that basis.
All right, so you saw that, you heard that. Now, there is a lot to quote-unquote unpack here, as the cool kids would say. There's quite a bit to sink my teeth into. First things first, top of mind for me is we got to speak on how sneaky and slimy Mark Lamont Hill is, or at least he comes off that way in this particular video. Very sneaky. Understand this. If Chris Rufo is to answer that question about what you like about being white, if he's to answer that in the way that Mark Lamont Hill wants him to answer it, meaning he gave him a template, it's like, okay, I like being black, right? I like the African diaspora. I like cultural norms. That's what I like about being black. Now, what do you like about being white? If he's to answer that question with some of the same types of examples, then those answers will be used against him. Oh, you're a racist. You think that only white people can build civilizations. Only whites can be on time. Only whites can have 2-parent households. You're a racist. You're a hater. This is why we need to have critical race theory. That'd be the response that Mark Lamont Hill would give him. And even if it wasn't Mark Lamont Hill in this particular talk that did it, it'd be others that are watching that'll say the same thing that I just said. So for Chris Rufo to answer that question, to kind of fall into that trap, it'd just be a losing situation. So I'm glad that he did not answer that question the way that Mark Lamont Hill wanted him to. I'm glad he answered it on his own terms. And he did a bravo job. Hats off to you, sir. You did fantastic. You answered that perfectly. It's like, look, I reject what some would say is, are things that are ascribed to whiteness. I've done a video about this particular part. At least one video, probably two videos about this. There was this pamphlet going around that came from the Smithsonian, and the pamphlet was attached to an article online about so-called whiteness. And in the pamphlet, it had certain things that people want to assign to whiteness that they say should not be assigned to other people because it's oppressive and is racist. These are white cultural norms that should not be expected of other people. Things like having two parents in the house, being on time, hard work, Christianity, all these things that, quite frankly, are very positive. I think people should, try to reach. Even if you're not religious or whatever, everybody should want to be on time. Everybody should want to work hard. Everybody should want to have two parents in the house. I don't care if you are non-religious, Christian, Muslim, Buddha, Jewish. I don't care what you are. Everybody in the world should want to have some of these things that they say it's only white people that can do that. And if you expect blacks to do it, then you're racist. So when Chris Rufo was saying some of the things that others ascribed to whiteness, he was speaking about that document that had been passed around. He was not answering the question himself. But this is what critical race theory gives you. I think I'm going to do a video on critical race theory just by itself, kind of isolated, so you kind of get a greater idea. But I give you the, Cliff Notes version right here, so you get a little bit more context into that clip. Now, we all know about the civil rights movement, right? That was in the 50s and the 60s, and we got all kind of laws and whatnot that came as a result. But some people weren't quite satisfied after that. They wanted civil rights to go further, to go deeper, to continue so-called progressing. So this is what birthed, in my opinion, critical race theory. You're going to get things like affirmative action and certain set-asides universities and certain little things that are specific to a particular race. That comes from critical race theory, all right? And then it has morphed and grown. It's like Little Shop of Horrors. You had a little teeny baby Venus flytrap plant that grew into this gigantic, out-of-control kind of monster, right? That's what critical race theory has become. And now it's gotten to the point where your children are being taught that everybody white, you're racist. You have inherent bias as a white person, and you must be deprogrammed to not be racist. How to be an anti-racist deals with that. Some would see the book title and think, oh, well, the guy, Ibram X. Kendi, talking about how, not to be racist and how to be a good guy, how to be virtuous, all this and that. But really what it's about is you're white, you're bad, you're terrible. Now, I got to tell you that over and over again. You got to believe it, and you got to give the black man whatever he wants. So when you're in New York City, walking down the street, and then some guy wearing loincloth and saber-toothed tigers on his head like it's a Burger King little kid's meal hat, when he comes up to you and says, hey, white devil, kiss my boot, you got to do it because you're white, you're evil, and you owe the black man everything that you have. You could have came here in the 1980s from Croatia, fleeing the communism over there, but it doesn't matter because you're white and it's your fault. That's what critical race theory winds up becoming. So Chris Rufo had the right message, and shout out to him. I don't subscribe to this thing of quote unquote blackness. I'm just Anthony. I'm just ABL. My identity is not wrapped up in my race. My identity is just who I am. Okay, first coming from my name, Anthony Brian Logan. My father, Jeffrey Brian Logan. Anthony comes from my uncle, my dad's brother, and also my great-grandfather. That was one of his names. He had 4 names. Long story. Anyway, my name comes from my family roots, from my mother and my father, from that. My family is the basis for me. And then me just having experiences in my life, growing up, seeing things, learning things, I've become my own person. I've developed interests. I developed goals and hobbies and dreams, aspirations. All these things make up who I am. I'm a unique person. I'm a real person. I'm not seeing myself as a black person and trying to fit my identity into what I think or what others think being black is. You know, a lot of guys and girls are going through identity crisis because they are trying to figure out, who am I? You 40 years old, you know, putting on kente cloth for the first time, saying, who am I? You know, do I identify with being black? Do I identify with being an American? You're having a crisis. Just be yourself. Just be who you are. Stop trying to fit yourself into what others think that you should be because of your race. Critical race theory confuses children who are growing up trying to figure out who they are and where they fit in the world. Imagine you going through awkward puberty stages, you're 11, 12, 13 or whatever, and you're going to school hearing about how bad things are for the black man and how you're oppressed and how the white man's bad. Imagine if you're a white person going through that, a black person going through that, another person that's not white, or imagine if you're multiracial, biracial, you could be black, white, Asian, everything else up under the sun. They're telling you that your mom's grandma, who might be full white, is bad, but your dad's grandma, who could be full black, is not bad, but you see them as the same. It's just like granny and other granny. Granny and grandma, you know, given two different names, differentiate them. You don't think about them being just different because of their race. But when you're 7, 8, 9 years old, or in your awkward stage, going through puberty, you're confused. And that is the ultimate goal, in my humble opinion, to brainwash children, to confuse children from the cradle to the grave. That's not what you want. You want kids to be individuals. This is America. We're not under a communist state as of yet, knock on wood. We're not there yet. You want people to be more individual, work together with others, but be an individual, not being led or groomed by random morons on the street. Skin color, all of that, that's not you. You are you at the end of the day. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what said you? How do you feel about that conversation between Marc Lamont Hill and Chris Rufo? Did you see the entire thing? If you saw the clip or the entire thing, either one, who had the best argument? Who made the most sense there to you? Whatever your thoughts on that are, let me know in the comments below. You guys pretty much know where I stand. I think Marc Lamont Hill, first of all, is trying to get some traction for this network. What's this, the Black News Network? I mean, what's that on Roku? I'm not really sure, but I digress. He's trying to get some traction for this whole thing to, you know, have some controversial statements, to get a little bit of attention. But how do you think he handled that versus what Chris Rufo was saying? Who was right and who was wrong? And where do we go from here? Whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.